We're talking an old man with some claws. We're talking about a big filthy ape. We're talking about a man with an iron fist and some sweaty, hulking men. All on this next episode of Chimichanga Talk. Hey guys, it's me. Yes, it's me. It's Deadpool Speaks, and I'm back, baby. We're back for another round of podcasting, and boy, it's been a while, I know. I kind of have to get all those joints kind of working out. I did a couple stretches beforehand. I hope you can do some stretches too, just to kind of get yourself ready and ready to go. I said ready twice. That's how ready I am. All right, and guys, as always, I do want to go ahead and kind of give us a little shout out. So, you know that Chimichanga Talk is found on all your great podcast hosting sites, from iTunes to SoundCloud. Just search us out. And remember to visit us on our website at www.chimichangatalk.com for all of our latest updates and appearances. Remember to also seek us out on Facebook and Instagram under Chimichanga Talk, and follow me on Twitter at Deadpool Speaks. You can also follow Dr. Evilbeard at Dr. Evil, that's with an H, Beard with another H, over there at Twitter. I still haven't figured out why he spells his name that way. He's Martian, so you can't really claim it or anything. And also remember, we do have many different projects going on out there. Actually, right now, we're kind of switching our gears and kind of putting everything into one basket. Now, as you know, I'm working on the second children's book, my first children's book, called If You Give a Geek a Lightsaber. The second one, called If You Give a Geek a Phaser, follows in the same vein, and that's on Kickstarter. It's about 145% funded, with around this time, I think it's about 16 or 15 days to go on the Kickstarter. So if you want to be part of that, go ahead and look us up. So you just got to remember, If You Give a Geek a Phaser. And go ahead and join us. We definitely want to have you along for this great adventure. There's so many great rewards. We've unlocked several stretch goals. The next stretch goal that we're waiting to unlock is a short story, a digital short story that's going to come along with a book. So right now you get like a geeky recipe book. You get some poster crossovers, things like that we've unlocked. So just signing up and to get the actual physical book puts you in the running for a lot of great prizes. And guys, also, we're on Patreon. All right, so if you go to Patreon and you type in Give a Geek, you're going to go ahead and find us there. And you could support us for as little as $1 to $5, just to go ahead and kind of say, hey, listen, we want to give back to your station. We want to give back to everything that you do. And we, in turn, will give back to you. That's our whole point. We've given some great little things, art and stuff like that away to whoever wants to support us. Because, if you like us, fantastic. We want to go ahead and, receive that love back in the best way possible, which is with money. So, guys, once again, we got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in on that. Dr. Evilbeard will not be joining me. This is just a solo session. It's just me and you and your ears, baby. Because you love that sound of my voice reverberating in your ears. So, first of all, let's go ahead and talk about Logan. Yeah, who could forget Logan, man? I wanted to go ahead and see this movie with my son on the day it came out. It was just absolutely brilliant. I personally loved it. There's some critics that are like, whatever. But I think it was a really great tip of the hat for Wolverine and for that character to kind of say goodbye to everybody. I think the story went off really well. It was really well told. And overall, it made me happy as a comic book nerd. So if you had gripes about it, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. I know that, basically whatever you find this link, if you find it either on the YouTubes, on iTunes, leave a comment on Facebook. Please leave us a comment. I want to hear your thoughts on Logan. So basically, not only did we have Logan come out, which, like I said, I thought it was a great Marvel film in the sense that it gave us everything that we wanted to see come out of Wolverine that we haven't as of yet. We got to see the violence, the gore. We got to see Logan's soft side, which, I mean, even though they kind of play on that through every movie, this was great. The way it was told was fantastic. His love for Xavier, Cabal's just presence in the film, it was great. I mean, I think they really told a great story. So I was extremely happy with it, and apparently 20th Century Fox is probably pretty happy with it, considering how well it's done. What is it? I think it's at 163 million so far. So yeah, I think it's done pretty well. In the box office right now, currently, running at number 1 is Kong Skull Island, which I'd like to give another shout out for that. Some critics kind of bashed the movie and said, well, it's not going to be good. It's kind of, takes out of a lot of the human element. But it's a monster movie. I think that overall, if you are a fan of monster movies, and you know who you are, my Godzilla freaks, my, old-timey RKO fans out there that really enjoyed some of these monster flicks from back in the day are going to enjoy this. There were some great monster fights in it. It told a really good story. I think that overall, this is kind of the CGI movie that we've wanted to see that has unfortunately failed us time and time before. I know that with Peter Jackson's King Kong, and remember, you kind of have to look at it as far as the technology and everything that was available. They kind of steered away from the whole 'twas beauty that killed the beast type of thing, and gave it another different type of life. I think it's told a story of how Kong really defends, this human population on this island from, these terrible underground dwelling creatures. And I think it did it really well. I think the period piece, because remember, the director was relatively unknown. I mean, he did like an indie film before this that was like made for like peanut scratch. So a lot of people were worried, saying, okay, well, he's not going to have the directing chops. But believe it or not, I think that recruiting out young talent like this is really important. And I think he did a great job. I think he really pulled it off. The transition between the time that has elapsed, because it starts during an earlier time and then moves into the 70s. You really get that feel for the time that's elapsed and how well it's stayed within that kind of feel. It's I don't want to say Apocalypse Now kind of thing, where you kind of really get into the mood and really set it in, but it does. I mean, I think it takes it really well. Plus, the classic rock soundtrack is amazing. So if you haven't seen Kong Skull Island and you enjoy monster flicks, go out and check this out, because I think it'll be a good time for you. If monster flicks are not your thing, then, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably not going to enjoy it as much. And I think that's a problem when a lot of people listen to critics and things like that. And we're going to talk about this further in just a little bit. I think that critics, I never trust the word of a critic. And I think it's best that if you want to go ahead and experience something, I don't like reading about it ahead of hand. I don't want to hear other people's opinions, because let's face it, everybody likes something different. I can tell you that Harry Potter was, complete trash of movies. And there's going to be somebody who's going to be like, hey, Harry Potter was absolutely amazing. And now that I'm saying that, okay, please do not send me the hate mail, okay? I actually love the Harry Potter movies. I love the, oh boy. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I love that movie. I thought it was fantastic. And, I really enjoyed the books as well. But I'm just saying that it's my place to kind of give you an opinion of what I think. But I always firmly believe that everyone should kind of jump out there and kind of see these things and experience them for themselves. Never trust what the critics are saying. And like I said, we're going to dive into that in just a little bit here. So, Kong Skull Island, if you are a monster fan, if you really enjoyed, King Kong, if you really enjoyed Godzilla, if you really enjoyed the like Mothra, these kind of things, these kind of movies, you're gonna feel right at home watching Kong Skull Island. It's really good, in my opinion, and I think it's definitely worth seeing, especially on the big screen. Just because the monster sound, I know THX, it makes, you rumble so hard, it kind of makes you question how you could live without it. But it is going to be fantastic. So definitely check that out. And rolling in on third, which this is, I would say it's surprising, but it hasn't been, has been the horror movie Get Out. It sparked, I've seen this, it sparked, the Get Out challenge with somebody like running towards the film and, like turning the corner. And it's funny because, the guy who kind of put all this together is, one half of Key and Peele. You think, well, comedy's your thing, but then again, hey, look how well this is done. This little independent film has grossed, 117 million so far. Amazing. So definitely go ahead and check out these movies. And now coming into contend for this, coming out is Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast. Well, there's so many things going on with Beauty and the Beast. So many people criticizing so many different things. We'll wait to see what happens. So, guys, let's go ahead and start talking about another little thing that was critiqued to death, which is Iron Fist appearing on Netflix today. And what makes today so great, beyond the fact that it is the Irish drinking holiday, St. Patrick's Day, which actually it's just like Cinco de Mayo, which is the Mexican drinking holiday, and it's everybody has their own thing, and I could say that I'm allowed to. So, guys, if you're going out there, always remember, be safe. But I don't even know where I'm going with this. But Iron Fist premiered today on Netflix. You can binge watch the whole, which most of you probably will, regardless. I like to try to kind of stretch it out just a little bit, so that way I can enjoy it. Because if not, I'm done watching it within a couple hours, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta wait almost a whole year for another season. See, that's the problem with binge watching. But that was a whole other episode that we did, man. So Iron Fist. Okay, so I've seen the first 3 episodes, and I'm going to tell you this. Everyone's bashing this film. Everyone's bashing this series because they say it's really slow paced because of all the problems that it had and all the controversy it had beforehand with, Geeks of Color? I think they went ahead and kind of bashed it, wanting to cast Danny Rand as an Asian American instead of kind of staying true to the comics. I don't know. But for what it's worth, I've seen, like I told you, the first 3 episodes. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Actually, I thought it was great. I thought Finn Jones as Danny Rand was pretty good. I don't see where a lot of these, reviewers are coming from. I honestly don't. I know that it was it The Guardian, I think, said that it was kind of disappointing, and even though that when they did these reviews, they only saw the first 6 episodes, because it was the first 6 episodes that were released to a lot of the media to go ahead and start kind of giving the review. They were saying, well, it's kind of really slow, and then you had I think it was The Independent, who said that Danny Rand came off as narcissistic and he's just a regular asshole, and it was absolutely not worth watching. I don't see it. I don't see where they're coming from. And this is where I go about the whole critics thing. I think that critics are out there to solely judge films. But the thing is, I don't think that anybody could be biased enough to say, well, I'm going to give it a review and I'm going to say it's horrible. And the thing is, what happens there, and this is what I hate about critics, what happens there is a lot of people will be like, oh, this person hated it. It must be awful. I'm not going to see it. And then, it becomes like a snowball effect, rolling down the mountain and just kind of crushing every single village and the hearts and dreams of millions of little kids drinking hot cocoa. So it's one of those things that I just don't understand. I don't understand why critics would go ahead and kind of, openly bash this stuff. But then again, that's their feelings. I guess, they're allowed to go ahead and feel these things. They're allowed to interpret the character in different ways. Like, I did not get how Danny Rand was narcissistic at all. I actually kind of felt pity for him because it says, right from the beginning, he was just such an asshole. Well, you know what? It kind of validated the fact that he needed to be a little bit of an asshole because of everything that was going on. So if you guys are not familiar, I'll give you a quick rundown on Iron Fist. Okay, so Danny Rand, and this is the comic version. Okay, so the comic version, you had his dad, Wendell, right? Who, he basically was the first one who happened upon, the city of Konglong, right? And he discovered it when he was very little. He went on an expedition with his business partner and his son and his wife and stuff like that. And, they wound up dying. And actually, his business partner, Harold, right, which he's in the TV show, but the whole kind of his whole biography, his whole kind of origin story is kind of mixed up, and I'm pretty sure they had a good reason for it. But basically he does nothing to kind of save it, and because he's kind of like in love with Danny Rand's mom. He tries to take advantage of the situation, but she winds up, getting eaten by wolves. He winds up being, rescued by these monks, the warrior monks, which kind of, from there on, it does kind of fill into the show. But his whole kind of coming back for vengeance thing was towards Harold, which, he kind of, he was the co-founder of this company with his dad. So in the TV show, they changed it around a little bit. They gave him this backstory of a plane crashing with his parents, which leads into kind of like a little different, interesting angles. I guess they have to tell the story according to how they see it best interpreted for somebody who's coming into this. Because remember, a lot of comic book fans, they either love Iron Fist or they just don't pay no attention to him. Because it's like the whole mystic part of it, just like Doctor Strange. There's people who really love Doctor Strange, and there's people who really don't get it. They're like, I'm neither here nor there with Doctor Strange. My personal opinion, I thought it was one of the best movies, aside from Guardians of the Galaxy, to come out in the Marvel Universe. I really enjoyed it because it told a really good story. And a lot of what you see in Doctor Strange, you kind of see in Iron Fist. The only difference is that, Danny's character comes back with kind of like this Wonder Boy type of thing. He shows up kind of dressed like a bum, barefoot, and just walking around New York, trying to find pieces of himself where, he's been considered dead for a long time. So that's where the story picks off. It's a slow build. I'll admit to that. A lot of critics did bash it because they say, well, this takes forever. It's a slow build. I don't understand why they have to explain so much. But I think it's important to the backstory that we start kind of seeing a lot of these characters. And remember, there's going to be a lot of play in for like characters like Colleen Wing, which, basically she joins with Misty Knight later on. And this is in the comic books, by the way. And there was a really cool reference in show number 3 for Daughters of the Dragon, like a little Easter egg there for anybody who's like fans of the comic book. And later they formed the Heroes for Hire, which they form with Paraman, or AKA Luke Cage. So that's where they kind of want to take this expanded universe. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. As far as what can I say on my personal opinion about the show, I found it entertaining so far. I really enjoyed it. I think, it does take a little bit to build to a point, but I mean, we're kind of building the story. I think that maybe a lot of people don't have the patience for the natural story build. I enjoy it. We are little by little starting to see Danny kind of start using his powers and what his whole honing your chi thing is. I don't get it where, the Independent kind of said that he was coming off as an asshole. I really don't see it. I see a man who is being kind of betrayed by who he thought were his closest friends and family, and left with no choice but to kind of defend himself. So that's where he is. As far as Finn goes, I think he's doing a great job. I kind of enjoy where this is going, so I'd really want to see it out. I think maybe people come in with very high expectations, since Jessica Jones and Daredevil has done really well. And remember, at the time, there was a lot of kind of mixed reviews about these different things. I think Luke Cage was the only one that had like a really like woohoo type of review for it, just because we already kind of established the character in Jessica Jones and kind of saw the potential of where to go. And a lot of people really enjoyed it and said it was better than Daredevil, and Jessica Jones kind of gave it its own little uplift here. Now remember that Iron Fist is going to become his partner later on, so they get to see that dynamic, and hopefully it builds into that. Like I said, go ahead and check it out. If you have Netflix, definitely see it. Go into it with an open mind and kind of say, well, it's just like going to see Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, you have to go in it with an open mind. I mean, you have to say, well, okay, this mystics and all this other stuff, because I think when we look at Jessica Jones, when we look at Daredevil, we see a lot of the grounded elements. We see a lot of this can possibly happen in the real world, where Iron Fist starts to kind of blend in a little bit into the magical world of magic. I like that. So go ahead, check it out. I think it's a great series. Take it in over time, man. Don't burn yourself out. I think these things are kind of like a long-term relationship thing. It's not a wham bam kind of thank you, ma'am, I'm done watching it. Take your time enjoying it, because it's going to be a little bit before we see something else. So that's my opinion. I think that so far they're doing a great job. I'm only 3 episodes in. I'll go ahead and further on this review later on. And the reason I was only 3 episodes in is because I don't have the virility to sit there for 6 long episodes. That's 6 hours of your life, baby. I don't have that time. But especially when I'm writing a children's book and trying to get all this other stuff together. So yeah, it does not work. But moving on to other things, one thing that I want to talk about is Wrestlemania. We're about what is it, about a little bit more than a week out from Wrestlemania. I'm like super excited for it. We've also found out I don't know if you guys follow into this, but the Hall of Fame ceremony is one of the kind of like leading parts of Wrestlemania, where they go ahead and induct into the Hall of Fame former wrestlers or celebrities and things like that. So far we have Kurt Angle, which is being inducted by John Cena. We have Rick Rude, Ravishing Rick Rude, who's being inducted by Ricky Steamboat. We have the Rock and Roll Express, which is damn about time. Beth Phoenix. We got Teddy Long, who's being inducted. They just revealed this today. Being inducted by the APA. So Ron Simmons and John Bradshaw, Layfield, JBL. They were longtime traveling buddies, and it was only fitting that they should go ahead and induct Teddy Long. So it's going to be a tag team match tonight, player. Diamond Dallas Page. They also got the Warrior Award going to Eric LeGrand. Is going to be inducted by Dana Warrior. Yes, he did take the name Warrior. Okay, we all know that. But we're really excited. This is going to be my first time at WrestleMania. I've never been before. I've been to numerous pay-per-views and stuff like that. But this is gonna be a bucket list item for me, and so it's gonna be me and one job, basically the whole family going down to Orlando. We're gonna experience Access and WrestleMania, plus tons of the events that are going on there. I mean, What Culture Wrestling is gonna be down there. There's just gonna be so many different things to see and do, because I mean, it is what they call like a pop icon event, where they go in and kind of just take over the whole city, where you see nothing but stuff for WrestleMania everywhere. So it must be a really exciting time for Orlando, and you know, I think this is a great time to kind of bring up some of the different things that have been going on as far as the wrestling community is concerned. I know that a lot of people are kind of disappointed with how things tend to happen with the Universal Championship being dropped to Goldberg from Kevin Owens. Me personally, I loved Kevin Owens. I think that a couple of things that are going wrong with wrestling today, and that's the whole kind of lead into this discussion. And I want to hear your opinions too. I want to hear what you think are the issues that are going on, things that have gone wrong for wrestling. Go ahead and make sure that you drop it in the comments. I definitely want to hear your voice. But here are my top reasons why wrestling is not what it used to be. Number one, the commentating. I'm going to say that the commentating is not what it used to be. Here's the reason why. Back in the day, we had a lot of great, between Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, you had Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. You had this dynamic of the heel commentator and the face commentator. And if you're not aware of wrestling terms, heel's basically the bad guy, face is like the good guy. So you'd have the heel commentator who would justify exactly why something's happening or why the bad guy's doing what he's doing. And he glorifies the bad guy, making the good guy look good, or look bad, I'm sorry. Where, you know, the face commentator does the exact opposite. And you have that dynamic going back and forth. Like I said, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon had an amazing rapport for doing this. And I think that's what made them such great color commentators. Nowadays, you don't have that. You don't have a distinction. You have 3-4 commentators out there kind of calling the shots, but there's no one kind of justifying why the heel would do what he does, or kind of glorifying the fact that he does it. And I think that's a huge element that's missing. Along with that is my other reason, which is the storylines. I think the storylines are very weak. I think that the biggest reason, and ladies, you know, this is for you out there, the biggest reason men watch wrestling is because of the drama. As much as we like to say that the biggest reason that we watch is because we like to watch, you know, muscular, sweaty men in short shorts wrestle each other around, it really is the drama. It's the whole kind of build up to why they're fighting. It's the whole kind of story angle. Like, for example, one of the best storylines that they had in a long time was the Mega Powers, when you had Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage teaming up to kind of take on the tag team competition. So at the time, Macho Man had Miss Elizabeth as his manager. So she became the manager of the two. And then little by little, you start seeing Hulk Hogan kind of, becoming a little bit too friendly with Miss Elizabeth. So you had this very interesting dynamic where, the Macho Man would start becoming jealous of his attention. And I think some of these storylines that they drew out are really great because you want that tension between the wrestlers. Eventually, it led to a match where Miss Elizabeth gets knocked out. So Hulk Hogan runs to her, picks her up, and takes her backstage, leaving Macho Man alone to kind of 2-on-1 situation, which suddenly explodes into a WrestleMania main event. That is amazing. That is storytelling. It lasted almost a whole year of great storytelling because you want to be invested. I think that's the important thing, is getting that investment. When you're watching a show like, for example, Lost, when you're watching a show like Lost, you become invested. And you want that investment to come out to something great. And then when it doesn't, a lot of people get upset. But they've failed to kind of hold that dynamic. A lot of other wrestling companies are kind of doing it in such a way, like Lucha Underground has had this whole kind of scheme where it's shot like a television show. And that's kind of what you want. You kind of want that. The reason why The Rock was as big as he was and was as popular as he was, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the reason why these men made a difference, Edge, is because of their ability to work on the mic and hold a really good grudge and feud with other wrestlers. They would talk up a big game, and they would, you'd see their matches go on, but you'd never see it finish. So you don't have that sense of completion. And then comes WrestleMania. WrestleMania, it was the end. It was the season finale for wrestling. And then suddenly the Raw the next day, the Monday after WrestleMania would come in all the new storylines. So what has happened is there hasn't been a dynamic story writing group that has built onto that. There hasn't been a legacy, and this is why, I was so upset with Goldberg beating Kevin Owens for the title, because here was a great opportunity to have kind of this showcase thing, because they were building a storyline where Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho were such good friends, buddies till the end. They helped each other win. They did all this other stuff, and then suddenly the dynamic started to fall apart a little bit. And then, we saw Kevin Owens kind of just doing some horrible stuff to Jericho, which in turn would have led to an amazing WrestleMania build-up with the belt on the line. That would have been fantastic, because let's face it, we love the belt when it's held by a heel, especially a heel that can really manage the belt well. People like Ric Flair, people like Triple H. If you look at some of the best people who have held the belt, they've held the belt as villains. Whenever you see Hulk Hogan, he held the belt. Hey, that's great. But Hulk Hogan, that reign of wrestling was different. It was like everybody would kind of challenge him, and he'd come so close to losing the belt so many times, and and then suddenly he'd retain it. But some of the best ones are when the heel retains the belt and then loses it at WrestleMania. It's that culmination of, here is your season finale, but here's your season finale with a nice bow on it. This is where it is. And I think that's one of the dynamics that's being lost in wrestling nowadays. I think that's something that's missing out tremendously. And according to sources, I'm not going to name my sources, but according to sources now, it appears that one of the major storylines that they're trying to do for next year's WrestleMania, which is taking place in New Orleans, is Brock Lesnar defending the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. I didn't decide this, people. Please send your hate mail elsewhere. I know a lot of people don't like Roman Reigns. The biggest reason they don't like Roman Reigns is because he doesn't do well on the mic. He doesn't hold the same charisma as everybody else. He's got this body thing where he's just amazing and he's good looking and everything. He'd be great for the business if he just had that talent on the mic, but he doesn't. Brock Lesnar would make a good champion, but the guy, I think Brock Lesnar has kind of past his prime. When he first came out, I was freaking Brock train all the way. I mean, he'd come out and I would toot, yeah, hell yeah, because Brock Lesnar was what Goldberg was back in the day. That's why seeing them collide would be so amazing. But the thing is, to see these little squash matches that Goldberg puts on, and I don't know if it's because Goldberg's up there in age and they don't want him to wrestle a long match. I'm pretty sure he could do it, but it bothers me that they're doing all these squash matches because they make him seem like he's invincible. And then, to try to take on a guy and he lasts, it's a 30-minute match. You're like, where was this before? So squash matches never hold well in the long run. And Brock Lesnar has been squashed twice. So it's kind of time where you're like, okay, well, does he really deserve to hold his belt? Is he going to win at WrestleMania? That's a big question. So is he going to take Goldberg's belt? Either way, neither man do I want to see hold that belt. because neither man has intentions of sticking around. I think the belt should go to younger talent. That's another reason why I think wrestling's not as great as it needs to be. As much as we want to feel that nostalgic factor, as long as we want to feel, hey, I can relate to this and I'm in the now. I think it's important to give the younger talent a good push. And it's not even the younger talents. I mean, they got really good storylines. They had really good wrestlers. They had something going with a Wyatt family, right? That was an awesome angle. That still is an amazing entrance. And I mean, they squashed it. They basically said, well, this isn't as important as it seems. And I hate that. I hate the fact that they can't comprise a good storyline. For people who are not wrestling fans, for people who are listening to this going, I have no clue what Deadpool Speaks is talking about. It's like going to see a movie and it's just written really awful. So you kind of, and let's say it's going to see a movie that you're familiar with. So like, let's say a sequel or a reboot, and they completely screw up the script. That's what it is. So guys, I want to hear your shout outs, man. I want to hear about, did you go see Beauty and the Beast? What'd you think of it? Did you go see Kong Skull Island? If you did, I want to hear about it. Guys, what did you think of Logan? And if you're there watching Iron Fist, tell me what you think. I want to hear comments. And tell you what, I'm actually going to go ahead and give away a digital copy of Godzilla. Yes, Godzilla for you. Digital copy free for you. If you leave me a really good comment below, I'll go ahead and decide. All you got to do is like our page on Facebook. Like the post where this podcast is going to be on, and leave me some comments, man, and I'll go ahead and pick one out, and you guys will win a free movie. How about that? You can't beat that. A free monster movie for leaving a monster comment. So guys, remember, as always, Chimichanga Talk. You can find us at www.chimichangatalk.com. Our next appearance is going to be at Epicon in Albany, Georgia. That's happening August 15th, if I'm not mistaken. So go ahead and get your tickets now. Definitely check it out. We're going to have a really good time because we're going to be hosting that. So if you went to Pensacon, if you went to Creative Con, any of these cons that we've been at, and that we do karaoke apocalypse, we do our game shows, always a good time. So definitely go to Epicon. It's epicon-ga.com. Go there, purchase your tickets, get it now before they go up in price, and come by and see us in Albany, Georgia. Also, remember to check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Chimichanga Talk, Instagram, same deal, and follow me on Twitter at Deadpool Speaks. And also remember our Patreon. I can't stress that enough because we want to give back to you, and while you give to us, we give back to you, and I think it's definitely worth it. So guys, as always, I am Deadpool Speaks. Thank you for listening in today. And remember, we're hoping to come back here full strong with more podcasts. Tell us what you want to hear about, what kind of guests you want us to have on. And we'd love to talk to you about it. And, shoot us some comments, man. We love chatting with our fans. Absolutely love it. And I hope you guys have an amazing and safe St. Patrick's Day. And for the time being, I'm Deadpool Speaks, and I'm out.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network, your station for all things geek, classic, current, and beyond. Be part of the crew at ESONetwork.com.